Many years ago, I went out there to study, and one summer I decided let me go and visit some of my colleagues who were lucky to be in Britain because I was in a totally different country. And I got into a train, and there were no mobile phones, and I had a camera, and I wanted to capture as much of the pictures on the way as possible. So I got into this train carriage and seated there. The first thing I noticed is that everybody had a book. Everybody was reading something. And I sat next to an old lady who I think got irritated with me at some point because I was busy staring at people and taking some snaps outside. And she got an old newspaper and passed it to me and told me, son, you must learn to be reading something. And I was like, wow, what has just happened here? Everybody is busy reading, and this lady has noticed this guy from Africa here is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. So it had an impression in my mind in that you always have to be looking at something or reading something to be able to acquire some knowledge. Fast track, many years later, I came and I was working. I'm still an employee of the University of Nairobi on leave of absence. And fortunately, in engineering, that's why my speech or my remarks are going to be very brief, because I understand equations. I'm not like Barack, whose column I read a lot, so I can't write that much. But many years later, I was trying to get universities to network, to build networks for universities, and an organization called the Kenya Education Network. And I had two key objectives. One is to make sure universities have adequate and reliable and affordable connectivity, that is internet, and within themselves they are connected, and there's content. And one day I was asked by the vice chancellors, there were 6 of them, how can you defend this project? You're telling us to use all this money, and now what people are going online to do is look for things to read and what. And I remember the lady who gave me a newspaper in the train, and because after she gave me the newspaper, after reading for some time, we were able to start discussing, and actually until she passed on, we became friends, and somewhere along the way I kept exchanging emails with her. And one thing she told me is that you must consume knowledge for you to be able to either use it or become a producer of it. And so when I was talking to the vice chancellor, I said, oh, these guys are professors. How am I going to get out of this? And I remembered what she told me, and I regurgitated it and said, you know, vice chancellors, for our students to be able to contribute to the knowledge economy, which we have plenty of out there today, they must first consume knowledge in whatever form. And I was very happy because the professors all of a sudden mellowed down, and I got the budget I was looking for. So you can see there was an advantage of being thrown to an old newspaper. It somehow along the way, whether I read it or not, something came out of it and it helped me. Fast forward to today, a few years back, I'm busy dropping my kids to school, and they are grown-ups and they are on their mobiles, and I'm like, guys, why are you always on your phones? Why can't we have a chat? And my elder son, who's 20-something, told me, Dad, actually I get more reading some of the blogs on the net and the times the quarrel I have with you in the car. And I said, wow, can I see right now what you're looking at? And he gave me his phone, and actually he was looking at some lessons in medical and what have you. And I was like, wow, the world has changed. When I was in college, I don't remember spending my time in a car or in a bus those days actually looking at some material. It was always a moment to reach somewhere and read. And when much later this year, the digital learning project, or the laptop as most people would like to call it, was brought to us, and we were told we would like to get this program going, the first thing we asked ourselves as a team is, what really do we want to deliver? We want to look at digital literacy. And that completely redefined what we would want to see done as we move forward. Because it is centered on content. And today what we are looking at is content, number one. Number two, it was very clear to us about one thing. Even those schools which are fully computerized will always need two very key things. One, is a teacher, somebody who will lead the learning, or somebody who the students will look up to. And 2 is the content in whatever format, whether it's books or it's in digital format. And that's why we said the first thing we need to do is build on what Ministry of Education has done. But most important, education has stopped being confined into the areas that we knew before that it was confined to. Education has come to a point whereby everything we do, we learn as we move on. We'll have a lot of learning. For instance, today here, the learners were brave enough to give us quite some good ideas through entertainment. Again, if we look at the different stakeholders who are involved in that, you'll find that not only do we have the teachers, the bureaucrats like some of us, we have actually business people, and it has to be business, like the publishers or the channels which they use, because it has to be a sustainable form of contribution to the education system. And it's based on that that we've reached out, and we have this partnership now with very many of the players in this industry, the Kenya Publishers Association, whom we have thrown the challenge back to. I'm happy when David got that email back. One of the things we did is we looked back at the meeting we had with the Kenya Publishers Association, and everybody was saying, oh, without this business model, this thing would work. And my answer was very simple. It's none of our problem. None of us here understands business. These guys have been in business, and the only economies that survive is where businesses survive. If we ask them to come up with a business model, they will. All what we need to worry about ourselves is the regulation and the quality assurance of that business model. So David, the challenge actually came from the group, and we said, you people have been doing it longer. I actually, when I tried business, I was auctioned, so I'm not planning to go back there. So if you rely on a business model from me, you'll actually be in a lot of trouble. So for me, it's that partnership and collaboration which is going to deliver what we are looking for in the long run. Let me have my last 2 points, since I promised you I'll be brief. And the first one is, what is the key thing in success in the next phase of the knowledge economy? Because from where I see it, what we've been working towards is ensuring that we actually have a smart society. And a smart society is a society, from our definition, where people can really exploit their talents and identify opportunities and be able to run away with those opportunities. Some years back, it would have been impossible to have a 10-year-old publishing a book because the technology, and I actually once interacted with Oxford Printing Press when they had very good big diskettes, and there was a problem with the publishing, and I was a young graduate, and I was quite savvy saying that what you need to convert this because you've bought a big computer. So I know the process they used to go through to produce books or to publish books. But today, if we have a smart society, we just need somebody with these ideas, and they'll be able to put them out there, either through publishing or through a blog which thrives. And we've seen very many of these. So for us to attain that level, it means we'll need to build a lot of capacity in our youth, as well as in some of us at 50 plus, share and network as much as possible. And in all the work that we've been doing at the SETE board and then the authority now, one of the things that we kept doing was to reach out to partnerships. How do we work with people to get what we want out there? And most important, for it to be sustainable. So when we look at trying to build capacity for publishers, again, this for us is something which you don't even have to think much about. We just need to agree on when to do this and the modalities of how we'll get it done. And at the end of October, one of the things we want to launch is that process of how we are going to work with people, how we are going to build capacity of publishers and content creators, and how we are going to agree together on what are the parameters for quality as we move forward. So that for me is already something that is already in the working. Number two, when we look at what we are trying to do, and we formed a number of interest groups as we deliver some of the programs that we have, one of the things I've learned in the last 8 years that I've been in government, and I learned when I was at the university, both teaching and doing other things, was that the easiest way to fail is to have a fixed mind and to have a one-direction approach. So every time, I've always said, let's have a federated approach. Let's not put our eggs in one basket. Let's have different approaches to the same thing, where each of the approaches or each of the lines that we are approaching is led by the subject matter experts in that area. So when we come to content, and we've really had a lot of discussions with the industry, we've had a lot of discussions with the different government bodies involved in this, we are definitely going to have a federated approach. We are not going to say we know it, this is the way you need to do it. We are going to say even those who are experimenting. And that's why we've been supporting innovation. And we've supported innovation not just by talking, not just by having good policies, it's actually by walking the talk. We were the first organization, I would dare say, in this continent, which gave people money in terms of $10,000 and $50,000 as grants and told them, go build your idea and see if you can sell it. And I remember getting into a lot of problems because we were told you're using public money to actually enrich different certain people. But if you step back and look at what that has done, is to create confidence in venture capitalists, angel funders, and even families to say that we can actually fund a good idea and see whether it can grow. Because when you look at the monies which people invest in businesses, it's other people's money which they put together and say that bring value for you. And what we needed to do is to create that confidence. Of course, quite a number of them failed because a few people whom we gave the money rushed to Nairobi, bought cars, but they forgot a car needs maintenance and fuel. So I believe they had to dispose them. But a few, and we have some success stories here, went ahead and used the money the way it's supposed to be used, and they are thriving businesses. Of course, with some challenges, some of them, they're beginning to come of age. So for us, doing it through other people is one of the best ways to approach our results. My final point is, when I look at what happens in the world of publishing, I've always come to book fairs, and I'll own up here to actually get bargains. I'm sure I'll be here on Saturday anyway, like every other parent. My wife is a very good bargain hunter, so I already know Saturday morning I've been booked as a driver, and of course as a person who will be given the bill to come and buy some books. But one of the things that I've also learned is that if we don't have a thriving publishing industry, then we actually can't even a good creative industry or a content industry, because where will be the people to write? And this is one of the key things that we are looking at. And one of the things we've said is that come January, we'll not be rolling out the whole program at a go. We're actually going to roll out this program in a piloted approach, so that what we learn from where we've been, we can feed it back. And for the first time, we've created a very strong M&D component in this project. We brought in partners from different universities, and we are going to be ensuring we have a very clear feedback loop into this process. The process that we've embarked on, the core component is actually capacity of the educator and the creation of content. So the role of publishers and the role of not only the publisher that we know, publishers that we don't know, like the young lady here, and others who are out there who are yearning to be discovered, and as well as to establish space for themselves, is going to be a major contribution from this project. So with those few remarks, I wish to appreciate everybody who has played a role in this fair, and to give our commitment as the ICT authority that in the next year's fair, we are definitely going to participate.
K.P.A. as the treasurer, and I want to begin by thanking our guest of honor, Engineer Victor, for coming and also for the commitment that you have given to us, the undertaking. By writing, yeah, you can pick words like Kyalo, just like that. Words just ooze out without muddying him in school, and it's good to meet him flesh and blood. So thanks very much.
It is common in all African traditions. When a guest is invited, we do not let you just go.
Nowadays it's customary to say what you've been given because otherwise I'll be supposed to declare. And I have a colleague here called Mwasi from Kenya Yearbook, so I don't want him to go and be asked what was there. There are very many good books which I'll share with some colleagues and the CS. Actually, I've seen one which I'll share with him. It's called Operation Linda Nchi. I think that's the one I'll give to the CS.
Right, thank you. And before we go away, I think I would invite the council for a photo opportunity with our chief guest. Would you like to do it standing? Would you like to do it sitting?
Yeah, here.
The CEO of a publishing house, kindly join us in this photo shoot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
No, we'll get it for you.
Thank you very
Find out. Yeah.
Keep